we got to make plays earlier in the game. There's opportunities to take a lead there in the first quarter. Defense and special teams did a great job offensively. We got to finish drives, score touchdowns, not turn the football over in the score zone, all those things, right?
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. Bombers lost this time. They lose 14-11 to the Toronto Argonauts at home, and this one kind of stinks a little bit, I will say. Now, there's a decent amount of things I want to get out of the way first. At the end of the day, first off, we had an 8-game winning streak going into this game, so there's not that much I can complain about it. When you kind of factor in that context that winning 8 in a row is crazy on its own, and so 9 in a row would just be crazier on top of that. But so it was bound to come to an end at some point. Started the season 0-4, and now we are first in the West still. Not yet clinched the West final. We've clinched a home playoff game tomorrow, or I guess today when the video is going up. The Lions will be playing the Riders. I will be at that game. You can check out some content that we're going to be posting up on Canadian Football Central from when we were at that game. And so if the Lions win that game, then the Winnipeg Blue Bombers clinch the West final. If Saskatchewan wins that game, both Winnipeg and Saskatchewan both have one more game. Winnipeg plays the Montreal Alouettes. Keep in mind the Alouettes have clinched the East, so the roster, they may not be playing all their starters, but they probably will at least play some of them. And then with Saskatchewan, they play Calgary, who is kind of on the opposite side of things, where they've already been eliminated from playoff contention. So it would go down to that if Saskatchewan wins tomorrow against BC. But going into this, so Chad Kelly's going to get near full. The second, like there was some no means no chance. There was some, F Chad Kelly chance. There was a few things, not to the point where the whole stadium got going, but I heard it was like, oh boy, yeah, this is going to be a bit of a hostile environment. Probably not as much as it was in Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, with Hamilton, of course, having a bit of more of a rivalry with Toronto. And so I was at this game, and then I wasn't sitting with them, but shout out to Rick, Connor, and Aiden who are at this game. Rick, who you know as, or like most likely know on Canadian Football Central, he's my co-host of the show. Connor, good friend of the channel, and he'd come on actually for our CFL Fans Fight Cancer video, and I believe Aiden is his cousin. My apologies if I'm wrong, but they're all really, really chill. It was nice to see him at the game tonight and all that sort of stuff, even if Connor and Aiden were cheering for those pesky Argonauts. But at the end of the day, we're not going to win everything, so it is what it is. Now, there's a lot of thoughts that I have on this game, but let's go through the whole game, and then afterwards just kind of recap. So first quarter, there'd be a good return for Lucky Whitehead, and then the Bombers would go 2 and out very, very early on. Not that hot start, then getting points on the board that I want them to get, that they've been very, very good at over the course of this 8-game win streak. Didn't get that tonight. And I think that was actually a lot bigger of a factor than some may admit. But then the Argos would push. They would go offside. However, in the very same play, Jake Thomas runs over Chad Kelly. Now, I will say Jake Thomas absolutely deserved that penalty. However, not going to lie, it was a little satisfying to see Jake Kelly land on his ass afterwards. He got a little bit of a cheer when that happened. And so is what it is. And Argos would then push, and they would get themselves a touchdown. Conversion is good. 7-0 Toronto to start the game. Not ideal. There would then be another good return by Lucky Whitehead. He's doing as much as he can with the kind of minimal blocks he's getting. And then the Argos would take an unnecessary roughness penalty. Caleros then would get sacked for the first time tonight. First of 7 to come, which is one of the problems that we'll talk to you about tonight. And then Caleros then gets stuffed afterwards, as he doesn't have any options, because the 7 sacks are for a variety of reasons. I'd say earlier on in the game, in the first and second quarter, there was a few plays where the offensive line actually held off for quite long, for a good 5-6 seconds, and then the puck collapsed at that point. With a defensive line as talented as the Argos, that's bound to happen at that point. And so I actually don't put some of those on the offensive line as much, as guys got to be open. They got to be open. They got to give options for Caleros. But then again, also to be fair, offensive line also has to try and give Caleres an out here, an escape route where even if it looks like they're not able to hold him off, if they can push guys at least to the side, he can get an opening to escape the pocket. And there really just was not very much of that tonight. And it then would get to the point where I think the offensive line was making significant errors, which would be a contributing factor in the 7 sacks against. I just think it was really, really important to mention the fact that there are many reasons why a team can give up 7 sacks, and it's not 100% the offensive line. I think the offensive line will always be the main component of that. I say that as a former offensive lineman myself. But to ignore all the other factors, I think is a little bit unfair and a little disingenuous. But I just feel like it's worth bringing up. So at this point, receivers are not getting open. And they're just struggling with Argos just was in good coverage. Bombers would then punt, but then Janarian Grant fumbles this on the punt, and the Bombers get possession. Bombers with prime possession, 1st and 9 on the 9-yard line. So 1st and goal. And then Brady Oliveira gets it down to the 1. They keep pushing. And then Terry Wilson goes for it on 3rd and 1. And I thought he was in, but it was getting reviewed. And it was very close. Ruling stands, and it's a turnover on downs. I'm not going to lie. I saw some pictures of kind of some people that had kind of freeze framed it. And I have an issue with the command center of this game. Let's just be honest. I think he was in. I've seen some photos that have shown that, at least from everything I've seen. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, you can lose by an inch or whatnot, but I'd argue this is a game that should not have come to that. And the Bombers, as much as, they might have been screwed out of an inch here or screwed out of an inch there or whatever, I refuse this narrative that we lost because of those inches. There were many mistakes that we made in this game that made this game as close as it was. The amount of times that, I'm not going to lie, I love Sergio Castillo. He had a rough night. He had a very rough night with some easy kicks that he missed. And then some that were kind of medium distance, but stuff that I'd expect him to hit. And is that me saying I've lost faith in Castillo? Absolutely not. Everyone has rough nights. Like me playing sports, I've had some games where I played like shit, straight up. Does that mean I'm a shit player? I mean, you might think so. Fair enough. But having a bad game does not make you a bad player. And so I think if you're Sergio Castillo, you just got to shrug that off and keep going. So, but that's going to happen. But I did disagree with that call, even though it is what it is. And I understand I have my biases as a Bomber fan. Fair enough. Ruling stands, though. The Bombers would then get going, and there would be defensive pass interference against the Toronto Argonauts. And then 1st down Winnipeg, there would be a great run play by Brady Oliveira. He pushes that down the field. And then Castillo would miss his first field goal of the night. It would be a 42-yard field goal attempt. And Toronto takes a knee in the end zone to make this 7-1. They give up the Rouge, the single, 7-1 Argonauts. Argos would then push, and then they would go for it on 3rd down, but a short turnover on downs. Defense coming up big. All things considered, I think for all the problems that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers had offensively, defense kept the Argos to 14 points. That is a winnable game. If your defense, obviously you're trying to get to not give up as much as you can, but there were some really, really key moments where the Bombers defense came up big time. And so I think this was an example of that. And so I think they gave the opportunity for the offense to get the win tonight, but the offense didn't get the win. So it is what it is. We go into the second quarter, and then Jared Brinkman, defensive lineman for the Toronto Argonauts, with a sack. Jared Brinkman, nice guy. Got to interview him on Canadian Football Central. You should check that out. But didn't like him sacking my QB and then doing his belly rub like he did before, because that is his signature celebration after a sack, which, to be fair, it's a good celebration. But yeah, protect your quarterback. Come on, guys. Seriously. And then Castillo goes in, hits a 26-yard field goal at least, makes it 7-4 Toronto. And then the Argos would then start driving the field. The D-line gets a good hit on Kelly after an incomplete passing play. And it gets a little bit of a cheer. Not going to lie, every time Chad Kelly gets popped, people were happy. So I can't say I'm not surprised. It would go back and forth a little bit, and then the Argos would drive the field, and Haralahu hits the 44-yard field goal, making this 10-4 for Toronto. And then at this point, I'm thinking, like, Caleros, there's two factors here. Caleros needs more protection. That offensive line, they got to tighten up a bit. They gotta not let that A gap and B gap spread out as wide as they can, and have a defensive tackle go slamming through it. Jake Serezna, Jared Brinkman, all of those guys were just being all sorts of problems. Derek Parrish, he got a sack tonight as well, who we interviewed him as well on Canadian Football Central. Wonderful guy, but was sad seeing him sack my quarterback. But there was that, along with some guys struggling to get open. Thankfully, we would see some of that solved come second half, but still in the second quarter right now. And then Janarian Grant, we get just an incredible return. I mean, we know what this guy's capable of. We've seen what he's done so many years in Winnipeg. He's been very, very good for the Argos. Kind of went on a little bit of a slump for a bit. Not necessarily because I think it was bad. I think it was just teams were starting to kind of figure him out. But he's kind of gotten a little bit of his mojo back now that he is not getting touchdowns every week off returns. So teams haven't focused on him as much as they were when he was getting that. It would go back and forth a little bit, and then I'm thinking the offense, they got to wake up. They got to get going, and they just don't. They're forced to punt again. Sheehan has to punt a lot in the first half of this game, and I'm disappointed with that. Argos able to push it down a little bit, and Haralahu hits a 42-yard field goal, 13-4 Toronto. And now we're going into halftime thinking, okay, first of all, wake up. Wake up. Not a single touchdown the entire first half of this game. 4 points. That's brutal. That's pathetic. That's abysmal. That is not Blue Bomber football. That is not. Like, I understand that we don't always have the best first half in the world, but not a single touchdown? Come on. We're better than that. Seriously. Like, there's so much talent there. And I think this is worth noting. The Argos played they played a very strong game for what the Argos are capable of. And the Bombers played horribly offensively. Looks like we're having a little bit of a power outage here. So ignore all that. But yeah, the Bombers played pretty bad offensively. And so I think it goes to show the kind of talent that the Bombers have, that the Argos on one of their better nights against the Bombers on one of their weaker nights barely wins this game. Winnipeg left so many points on the board. And so it's one of those things. I think the Bombers are no question a more talented team than the Toronto Argonauts. But at the end of the day, as much as talent is great, it only matters if you use it. And you know what? Full credit to the Argos. They took advantage and they used the talent that they had, even though I think it is inferior in terms of on paper to the Bombers and what the Bombers have. At the end of the day, all that matters is who gets the job done. And tonight the Argos got it done. They did. Even if there are things I disagree with, which we'll get to more of that a little bit later. And so we then get into the third quarter, and the Bombers, I'm not going to lie, they start the third quarter strong. Passing game gets it going really well. They're throwing it down the field. Wheatfall's getting it, Lawler's getting it, Dembski's getting it, Ontario Wilson is getting it. And then Caleros with a really bad fumble on the Argos 26-yard line. In my opinion, this was a play that you absolutely could not have happen, as I think Winnipeg needed to at least get a touchdown or field goal off of this drive, because this was the Bombers coming back to life where there was no life. They got more first downs in that drive than they did the entire first half of the game. And so I think coming up out empty-handed with nothing is just unacceptable. Caleros, if you're going down with it, either you throw that ball out or you get both hands on it, and he just doesn't, and that ball pops right out. So a little bit of an irresponsible play on Caleros' part, no offense. But then the Argos would get it going, and then there'd be a huge pass for Polk. They would push it all the way down. The Argos get down to the 1 yard line, and 3rd and 1, the Bombers defense comes up huge. Turnover on downs, Bomber ball.
He's stuck! He didn't get it, no! He was almost there and he gets knocked back. Well, they don't measure from your ass!
An absolutely massive play by the Bombers defense. When pushed to the absolute breaking point, they keep him out of there. And actually, I see Chad Kelly and I'm thinking, no. And then our guy comes in, literally slams him so he just doesn't get in. Super, super close. Full credit to it. Just an incredible effort by the defense to keep them out. Bombers would then get going a little bit. Argos go offside, and then Kenny Lawler would get a catch for a first down. However, Ryan Dinwiddie, head coach of the Toronto Argonauts, challenges the play, claiming there was an illegal block downfield against Winnipeg, which is a little bit of a strange thing to challenge. Not that you can't challenge it. You certainly can. It's just not very common. Challenge does fail, and the Argos go down to 1 timeout. And that's pretty much all you got really there in the third quarter. Fourth quarter rolls around, and the Bombers push that down the field a bit. And then Castillo, another field goal, 48 yards. So a bit of a long one, to be fair, but he hits the uprights again. It's his 3rd time him hitting those uprights, where he hit one tonight and he hit a few against the Elks. So just not getting no luck in that regard. Still 13-4. We desperately need points. We need something. Argos go 2 and out. The Bombers has a big opportunity here. There'll be a huge run by Zach Caleros, and then the Bombers are pushing it down the field. They're throwing it, and they keep it going. They don't do these long huddles. They're keeping the play going. They're not giving the Argos time to set up comfortably, and they're forcing the Argos to think on their feet. And by doing that, that is when the Argos defensive playbook falls apart. It's when the Bombers take forever to set up that the Argos are ready, and they're able to have more success against the Bomber offense. And then the Bombers would then take a shot at the end zone, and there would be blatant pass interference. There were like 2 or 3 flags calling this, so there was no way they would ever challenge against that, as it just was not close. Ball goes onto the 1, and then the Bombers would get a touchdown. Terry Wilson punches it into the end zone. Conversion is good. 13-11 Toronto. We are not fucking done yet. The Bombers have come back big time in the fourth quarter before. Made me think a lot about that game against Hamilton when we were able to do it. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to get it finished, but it is what it is. Argos would push, but they're forced to punt. Then on the Winnipeg offense, Toronto would go offside, and then Caleros would get sacked. They go to 3rd down. It's 3rd and 17. Ball snapped. Caleros is looking for options. Doesn't have anything except the right side of the field right next to him. He's got wide open. Now, Caleros does hesitate a little bit here. This is key. And then he runs forward, extends the ball as far as he can forward, keeping his feet in bounds, and then goes out of bounds. He needed 17. And it is damn close. They take a long time reviewing this. And after the referee spots the ball, the officials spot the ball, they do a measurement, and they determine that the Bombers have come up short. Now, the Bombers would challenge this. So someone would maybe be asking, when there's a measurement And when there's a review, can the Bombers challenge? The answer is absolutely. That is in the rule book. You absolutely can, because even though there was a measurement, the measurement was based on the official's ruling of where the ball is to be spotted. So if you're challenging the spot of the ball, you're challenging that goes to the command center. And so then when it's in the command center can have more power on where the ball is spotted as opposed to just the officials. That then changes the measurement, which when we're talking about a play of inches less than the length of a football, that makes all the difference. That could be the difference between a first down and game over. And I'm going to be honest, from every camera angle I saw, I think he's got it. Now, a lot of people mention that Calero's like, at the time where he's like full elbows deep, he's like way out of bounds. That is true. But if you look at where his foot is last in bounds and where the tip of that ball is, I'm not going to lie, I have a hard time believing he doesn't have that. From every camera angle I saw, at the end of the day, am I a Bomber fan? Am I probably going to have a bit of bias in me? Absolutely. Fair enough. And at the end of the day, you guys can believe what you want. I think he had that. And I did not like the verdict on that. But again, I'm not saying we lost because of that. Bombers made a lot of mistakes in this game. And I don't believe it should have come to that. It is what it is. Can't play 10 minutes of good offense and expect to win an entire game on that. Although I will say it is crazy how, again, this game was close somehow, even though the Bombers played absolutely terrible offensively for the vast majority of it. And the Argos were playing pretty well for their standards. So I was kind of, don't think that looks too bad on us, especially after winning 8 games, 8 straight. At the end of the day, I have faith in this team. I do, absolutely. At the end of the day, there are so many people that have talked about how this team is washed, and I've made a joke about that. I made a video about that when I thought maybe we were. We were 0-4. It was a bad start. But this is a team that has made the Grey Cup finals 4 years in a row. They won 2 Grey Cups out of that. Have they lost 2? Yeah, absolutely. They made the finals 4 straight years. There's no denying the talent that this roster has. And you cannot count out the Bombers. You can't. In half a decade, there's not been a single other team that has made it out of the West and participated in the Grey Cup game. Hasn't been. Not one. Because remember, there was a COVID year in there where the CFL season was canceled. There's 2019, 2020 season was canceled, 2021, 2022, 2023. So just it's just a big deal, And so I believe in this team. I do. But it is what it is. Again, O'Shea challenges it. Unfortunately, that after a long deliberation, challenge fails. I'm not going to lie. I really don't like. I understand that it has to overturn the call on the field. However, I will say this command center is so stubborn to overturn anything. They really are. But it is what it is. Winnipeg would be also assessed a 10-yard bench minor. I'm not going to lie. I'm fine with us taking a bench minor there. I'm not someone who likes taking bench minors there. But if someone got one of the officials an idiot, at that point, it is what it is. I think Caleros did pretty much as he could. I think he hesitates a little bit, but that's very much a hindsight's 2020 sort of a thing, where it was not his original intention to run 17 yards and try to get the first down that way. Winnipeg would then give up a single, after the Argos punted. Good clock management, to be fair, by the Argos to really kill as much time as they can. Winnipeg gives up a single, which would make it 14-11 Toronto. This is Winnipeg just trying to get to the 40-yard line. And then at that point, they're behind by 3. They can still tie the game. 2 seconds left, ball on the 40. Bombers go for it, throw it in the air, and it's bouncing all over the place. I think it ends up in the hands of an Argo, and it's an interception or whatnot. So technically, there'll be another interception on the stat sheet. But this one hardly counts. It's on a freaking Hail Mary. So it is what it is. Bombers gave up 7 sacks tonight. 7 sacks. It's hard to win a game like that. It's actually, again, it is insane how close this game was considering all the mistakes we made. It is. How do you give up 7 sacks and lose by only a field goal? I don't understand that. That's crazy. So at the end of the day, am I worried about this team? No. I think if anything, hopefully there's good that can come out of this. Maybe this is just a reality check that the Bombers needed, that they're not invincible. And so if they needed a bit of a wake-up call to get back to it come this last game of the season where, if Saskatchewan manages to beat BC, where, we'd have to clinch in that game against Montreal, then let's go out there and do it. And then, hopefully this is that wake-up call they need going into playoffs. So all in all, I believe in my team. Disappointing loss, but I think there's a lot of learning that can come out of this, and better to learn now than make those mistakes come playoffs and have to learn that in the off season. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys check out Canadian Football Centrals. We're going to be doing some fun content while we're out in Regina. I guess today, again, when the video goes up. So you'll see probably some shorts content and maybe some other stuff coming out. Lots of fun there. And then we'll have something exciting scheduled the next few weeks. Hopefully it comes to fruition, but that'll be really, really fun when we get to that over on Canadian Football Central. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Nolan Hockey Podcast video, the channel that this video is going up on. Also check out my brother's Jets game reaction. Winnipeg Jets had their home opener yesterday with a 2-1 overtime win against the Chicago Blackhawks. Mark Scheifele with 2 thrillers of goals to hit it. 300 career goals for him. Congratulations to Mark Scheifele on that. But Zach with with an awesome in-depth analysis of that and all the fun stuff that you see from my brother. He's got some excellent content. So make sure you guys check that out. And then check out Canadian Football Central for some league-wide CFL content. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home. And I will see you guys next time.